I saw my ex at a wedding. Then she handed me a note. The first thing she said to me in 3 years was, "Don't leave before midnight." Then she slipped a folded note into my hand like it was a weapon. 10 minutes later, the groom disappeared, and suddenly every person in that wedding hall was staring at me like I had ruined somebody's life again. I should have walked away the second I saw her standing near the champagne tower in that dark green dress. But heartbreak makes fools out of people long after love is dead, especially when the person who broke you still knows exactly how to look at you. Her name was Sofia, and the last time I saw her, she told me I wasn't the kind of man anyone stayed for. I spent 3 years pretending those words didn't follow me into every empty apartment, every sleepless night, every bad decision disguised as moving on. Then one wedding invitation dragged me straight back into the fire. I told myself I was only attending because Ethan was my best friend from college. Truth was, I didn't know Sofia would be there until I walked into the ballroom and saw her laughing beside the bride like she had never destroyed anybody in her life. The room smelled like roses and expensive whiskey. A jazz band played softly under crystal chandeliers. Everybody looked beautiful, everybody except me. Because grief ages a man differently, I froze near the entrance while people brushed past me holding champagne flutes and fake smiles. And somehow, through 200 guests, Sofia turned and looked directly at me. Not surprised, not guilty, just sad, like she'd been expecting this collision all along. Then she walked toward me, and my heartbeat started sounding like something trying to escape a locked room. "You still hate weddings?" she asked softly. I laughed once because it was safer than telling the truth. "I mostly hate surprises." Her eyes dropped for half a second. That tiny movement hit harder than any apology. Sofia used to do that whenever she was hiding something. Back when we lived together, she'd look down before every lie, before every "I'm fine," before every "nothing's wrong," before she cheated on me with a man old enough to order retirement brochures. At least that's what I believed for 3 years. She handed me a folded napkin-sized note. Her fingers brushed mine for less than a second. It still felt illegal. "Read it later," she whispered. Then she walked away before I could stop her. I stared at the note for nearly a minute. My chest tightened with the same sick feeling I used to get whenever her phone buzzed late at night. Part of me wanted to throw the note into the nearest candle. Another part of me wanted answers badly enough to bleed for them. Ethan suddenly appeared beside me with 2 glasses of whiskey. "Brother," he shouted, hugging me hard. I almost forgot how much I missed him. He looked genuinely happy. The kind of happy people fake online but never actually feel. "You okay?" he asked quietly after pulling back. "Yeah." He glanced towards Sofia across the room. "That complicated?" "Huh." I swallowed hard. "You have no idea." The weird thing was Ethan looked nervous after I said that. Not awkward, not uncomfortable. Nervous, like a man watching cracks spread across glass before it finally shatters. That should have warned me. But heartbreak blinds people to danger when nostalgia is involved. Dinner started an hour later. I ended up seated 3 tables away from Sofia. Close enough to notice she barely touched her food. Close enough to notice she kept checking the ballroom entrance every few minutes. Close enough to notice something was very wrong. The bride, Olivia, stood to make a toast while candles flickered against the gold decorations. She was radiant, confident, completely unaware that her perfect night was slowly collapsing behind the scenes. Everyone laughed during the speeches except Sofia. At one point I caught her staring at Ethan with pure panic in her eyes. Not love, fear. That's when I finally unfolded the note under the tablecloth. My hands were shaking before I even opened it. 3 lines. That was all. "Ethan is lying to everyone. He knows why I left you. Please don't let Olivia marry him before midnight." I read it 4 times. The room suddenly felt too hot. Music blurred together into noise. My stomach twisted so violently I thought I might actually throw up on somebody's wedding cake. I looked at Sofia immediately. She was already staring at me. And for the first time since I arrived, I saw terror instead of sadness. Real terror. I stood up so fast my chair nearly tipped backward. A few guests turned to look at me. I ignored them and walked straight toward the exit hallway. 3 seconds later, Sofia followed. The second the ballroom doors closed behind us, I snapped. "What the hell is this?" I hissed, holding up the note. She crossed her arms tightly like she was holding herself together piece by piece. "You need to trust me." I laughed in disbelief. "Trust you, Sofia? The last thing you ever gave me was trauma." That hit her hard. I saw it, but she nodded like she deserved it. Fair. The hallway lights reflected in her watery eyes. For one dangerous second, memories came rushing back. Sunday mornings. Her terrible singing while cooking eggs. The way she used to steal my hoodies and pretend she didn't. Then another memory followed. Her suitcase near the apartment door. Her silence. Me begging someone who already emotionally left months earlier. "You cheated on me," I said coldly. "No." "Yes, you did." "No, Daniel, I didn't." Everything inside me stopped moving. Because liars usually defend themselves quickly. But truth sounds exhausted. Sofia leaned against the wall and covered her face for a moment. "When I left you, Ethan told me you were secretly seeing someone else." I stared at her. "What?" "He showed me messages." I almost laughed from how insane it sounded. "What messages?" "He said another woman sent them by accident, while he was using your phone during a night." I felt my pulse roaring in my ears. "That never happened. I know that now." She looked shattered saying it. "After we broke up, Ethan kept telling me things about you. Things that made me think you hated me." My chest tightened painfully. "Why would Ethan do that?" She hesitated too long, then finally whispered the sentence that nearly detonated my entire life. "Because Ethan was obsessed with me." Silence. The kind that changes people. I stepped backwards slowly. "No, he admitted it 6 months ago after getting drunk." "You're lying." I wish I was. Suddenly dozens of strange memories started rearranging themselves in my head. Ethan constantly asking about Sofia. Ethan encouraging fights between us over stupid things. Ethan once telling me, "Women leave emotionally before physically." At the time it sounded like advice. Now it sounded like strategy. He manipulated both of us. Sofia whispered, "He wanted you gone." I felt sick. Not angry yet. Just hollow. Like somebody had quietly removed years of my life while I wasn't looking. Then I remembered something else. "Wait. If you know all this, why are you here?" Her face collapsed completely. "Because Olivia doesn't know who he really is." The ballroom erupted into applause behind the doors. Probably another toast. Another celebration built on a lie. Sofia grabbed my wrist suddenly. "He's been deleting messages from women 4 months." I pulled away instinctively. "You expect me to believe this right now?" "I have proof." "Then why not show Olivia?" "Because Ethan threatened me." That sentence landed differently, not dramatic, terrifyingly calm. Sofia reached into her purse with trembling fingers and handed me her phone. There were screenshots, voice recordings, messages from unknown women, and one audio clip labeled, "If you ruin this wedding, I ruin you." I pressed play. Ethan's voice filled the hallway, cold, controlled. Nothing like the smiling man greeting guests inside. "You already destroyed one relationship. Sofia, nobody's going to believe you over me." My blood turned to ice. I wish I could say I handled it calmly. I didn't. I walked straight back into the ballroom feeling like somebody had lit gasoline inside my chest. The band was playing something soft and romantic, while Olivia danced with her father. People were crying from happiness. Meanwhile, I could barely breathe. Ethan noticed me immediately, and for one split second, he panicked. Tiny expression. Gone fast, but I saw it. Because guilty people always recognize the moment truth enters the room. He approached me near the bar with that same charming smile he used on everybody. "You good?" he asked quietly. I stared at him. This was the man I defended for years. The man who helped me move apartments after Sofia left. The man who watched me drink myself numb while secretly knowing he caused it. "You ever wonder what kind of person you really are?" I asked. His smile faded slightly. "Not the time for whatever this is. Funny, I think it's exactly the time." His jaw tightened. "Daniel, you manipulated her." There it was again. Panic. Quick. Sharp. Dangerous. I don't know what she told you. You ruined my relationship because you wanted her. He grabbed my arm hard enough to hurt. Lower your voice. That was the exact moment I knew Sofia told the truth. Because innocent people deny accusations, guilty people manage damage. I shoved his hand away. You're pathetic. His face darkened instantly. You think she came running back because she loves you? He hissed. That sentence punched harder than expected. Before I could answer, Olivia walked toward us smiling. Everything okay? The speed Ethan changed expressions should have earned him an acting award. Perfect groom again. Warm, friendly, safe. Just catching up, he said smoothly. But Olivia looked between us carefully. Women notice tension faster than men ever do. And right before Ethan could redirect the conversation, Sofia walked into the ballroom holding her phone. The room shifted. I can't explain it better than that. Some moments feel like storms arriving before thunder even starts. Everybody sensed something. Sofia looked directly at Olivia, and Ethan looked terrified. You should hear the recording, Sofia said quietly. The music stopped, not dramatically, just awkwardly, like the pianist realized he suddenly shouldn't be playing anymore. Olivia blinked in confusion. What recording? Ethan stepped forward immediately. This is insane. Sofia ignored him and pressed play. His own voice echoed through the ballroom speakers from her connected phone. If you ruin this wedding, I ruin you. Guests froze mid-conversation. Silverware stopped clinking. The entire room turned into silence, wrapped in shock. Olivia's smile disappeared slowly. What is this? Ethan tried grabbing the phone. Sofia stepped backward. Then another recording played. This one worse. I did what I had to do. Daniel never deserved you anyway. People started whispering instantly. The bride's mother looked horrified. One groomsman quietly walked away pretending he didn't know Ethan. And me. I stood there realizing my best friend destroyed my relationship because he couldn't stand watching someone else be loved. Olivia looked like somebody had pulled the floor out from under her. Tell me this isn't real. Ethan finally snapped. You think she's innocent? He shouted, pointing at Sofia. Guests jumped. She played both of us 4 years. No, Sofia said calmly through tears. You did. Ethan turned toward me then, and I'll never forget the hatred in his eyes. You really think she came back for you? I expected anger. Instead, I felt strangely calm. Because manipulative people lose power the second everybody sees behind the mask. You destroyed your own life, I told him. Olivia slowly removed her wedding ring. That tiny sound of metal hitting the table beside her champagne glass felt louder than the music ever did. No, Ethan whispered. But it was over. Everyone knew it. The groom who spent years controlling narratives suddenly had none left. Olivia looked at Sofia with tears streaming down her face. How long? I found out 6 months ago, Sofia admitted. Why wait until today? Sofia looked toward me briefly, then back at Olivia. Because I was scared nobody would believe me. That hurt more than anything else. Because fear had stolen years from both of us. Olivia nodded slowly. Then she slapped Ethan so hard the entire ballroom gasped. Honestly, best sound of the night. Even Sofia almost laughed through tears. And somehow that tiny moment of chaos broke the unbearable tension, just enough for reality to breathe again. The wedding collapsed after that. Some guests left immediately. Others stayed purely for the drama, because human beings are vultures when heartbreak becomes entertainment. Ethan kept trying to explain himself. Nobody listened anymore. I walked outside into the cold night air feeling emotionally amputated. The city lights blurred across the river behind the venue. Everything felt unreal. 3 years of pain suddenly had a different villain. But strangely, that didn't erase the damage. Truth heals slower than people think. A few minutes later, Sofia joined me outside. Neither of us spoke immediately. Cars passed in the distance. Music from inside faded into muffled noise. You could have told me sooner, I finally said. I know. I looked at her. She seemed smaller than I remembered. Not physically, emotionally. Like guilt had been eating her alive 4 years. Why didn't you? She wiped tears from her face. Because every time I tried calling you after the breakup, Ethan told me you said never contact you again. I closed my eyes slowly. Of course he did. He told me you hated me. She whispered. I laughed painfully. I spent 3 years thinking you replaced me without caring. She looked shattered hearing that. I loved you, Daniel. That sentence nearly destroyed me. Because timing matters in love almost more than love itself. And ours arrived broken. I wanted to hate you, I admitted. I tried. She smiled softly. You were always terrible at pretending. For the first time all night, we both laughed quietly, small, fragile, human. Then Sofia reached into her purse again. There's something else. I immediately tensed. What now? She handed me another folded note. Different handwriting. Mine. I unfolded it carefully, and my entire body froze. It was a letter I wrote to her 3 years ago after she left. A letter I never mailed, because Ethan told me she threw away everything I gave her. Except somehow, she had it. I found it in Ethan's apartment 2 months ago. Sofia whispered. The paper shook in my hands. I remembered writing every word while drunk and heartbroken at 4 in the morning, especially the final sentence. If there's even one version of this universe where you still love me, I hope he treats you better than I failed to. Sofia started crying harder. He hid it from me. My chest physically hurt. Not metaphorically, actually hurt. Because one stolen letter changed 3 entire years of 2 people's lives. We sat beside the river for almost an hour after that, not trying to fix everything, not pretending the damage disappeared overnight. Just talking honestly for the first time in years. She told me about the panic attacks after our breakup. I told her about therapy. She admitted she compared every man to me afterward. I admitted nobody ever made me feel safe again after her. At one point, she laughed remembering how I burned past her twice trying to impress her when we first dated. It was charcoal, she said. It was experimental cuisine. It was attempted murder. And suddenly we were laughing so hard tears started falling again. Funny how grief and love live frighteningly close together. Then silence settled between us once more. Comfortable this time. Sofia stared across the water before speaking quietly. I don't expect forgiveness. I thought about that carefully. About the years lost. The birthdays missed. The nights spent hating somebody who never actually betrayed me. Then I thought about Ethan. About manipulation, about fear, about how easily damaged people can be weaponized against each other. I don't think we were the villains in each other's story, I finally said. She looked at me slowly. What are we then? I smiled sadly. 2 idiots who trusted the wrong person. That broke her composure completely. She covered her mouth crying quietly into her hands. Instinct took over before logic could stop me. I moved closer and held her. And the terrifying thing was, it still felt like home. Not perfect, not healed, but familiar in the deepest possible way. She buried her face against my chest. I'm so sorry, she whispered repeatedly. I believed her. That's what scared me most. Because forgiveness is dangerous when love never fully died. A black SUV suddenly pulled out from the venue parking lot nearby. Ethan sat in the back seat alone. For 1 second our eyes met through the window. He looked furious, broken, exposed. Then the car disappeared into traffic. And just like that, the man who controlled our lives 4 years became nothing more than a fading shadow under city lights. 3 months later, Sofia knocked on my apartment door holding takeout and smiling nervously. Rain tapped softly against the windows behind her. You still hate surprises? She asked. I looked at her for a long moment before stepping aside. Depends who's holding them. She laughed quietly and walked inside. Things weren't magically fixed between us. Real life doesn't work like movies. Some nights we still argued about the past. Some mornings we woke up scared history would repeat itself. But healing became easier once lies stopped sitting between us. We rebuilt slowly, painfully, honestly. And maybe that made it stronger than before. A year later, we attended another wedding together. Different venue, different people, different version of us. During the reception, Sofia squeezed my hand while couples danced beneath warm lights. "You okay?" she whispered. I looked around the room, at laughter, at music, at second chances disguised as ordinary moments. Then I looked at her, the woman I spent years trying to forget, the woman who nearly became a stranger because somebody else couldn't stand seeing us happy. "Yeah," I said softly, and for the first time in a very long time, I meant it. Near midnight, Sofia slipped a tiny folded note into my hand beneath the dinner table. I opened it immediately this time. 3 lines again. Only this note felt different. No more lies, no more leaving. Choose me again tomorrow. I looked up at her while the dance floor lights reflected in her eyes. Then I smiled, because sometimes the most painful love stories don't end when people break apart. Sometimes they end when two broken people finally realize the real enemy was the silence between them. And as the music played softly around us, I folded the note carefully and slid it into my pocket beside my heart. The same place her absence nearly destroyed me. The same place her honesty finally brought back to life. Because in the end, the cruelest betrayals don't come from enemies. They come from the people smiling closest to your table, while they quietly poison the love you would have died protecting.